Hey everybody, welcome to a Palindrome Tuesday. What is a palindrome? A palindrome is a date that has all the numbers in it the same. Like today, February the 2nd, which is the second month, 22nd, 2022. So 22, palindrome, P-A-L-I-N-D-R-O-M-E. Look it up, Google it. Welcome to a Palindrome Tuesday. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. We're going to talk about coffee today. We're going to talk about how Mike does coffee. Because Mike does coffee a little different than a lot of people probably do. I've seen a lot of folks out there on YouTube that every once in a while they'll throw up a little video on how they do coffee. And I thought, I don't think there's too many people that do coffee the way Mike does coffee. And we're going to go into that a little bit. I'm going to show you how Mike does coffee. And the reason I'm doing that is because over Christmas, I was out in Washington State, and I had a chance to talk to my brother. Hi, John. This is for you. We're going to do a coffee video so my brother can see how I do coffee. Let's talk about this. This machine right here, this is a Keurig. These people, in my opinion, they nailed it with this machine right here. I like this machine. You got to keep it clean like any other machine, but this machine works great for me. 1 cup at a time. Every cup is as fresh as the last one. They're not sitting on some hot plate getting burnt in the bottom like drip coffees used to do. I used to have drip coffee makers, and those would burn the coffee if you weren't quick enough to finish the whole pot in time. And then there's pour over stuff, and then there's other things. This one here will also burn it, but my wife and I go through this pretty quickly. We don't make a full pot every time. And this is our evening brew, and we make decaf in it. And the reason we like this is because there's an air of nostalgia to it. My grandparents had one of these. She said her grandparents had one of these. When we grew up, I remember watching this thing percolate coffee, and sounded so cool and smelled so neat, and it's a good memory for me. Yup. Evening brew, decaf. Morning brew, caffeine, red and yellow. This is expensive. These are more expensive. The cost of these over time will far exceed the cost of this. So you need to get away from these. We'll get away from those. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you how I do coffee. It's a little different than probably anything you've ever seen before, but I'm going to show it to you. How to use this in this and get away from this. It's going to be an interesting journey. Let's get ready. Check it out. Okay, we have come here to this store because I want to get the current cost of coffee. Like we talked about in the intro this afternoon, we're going to look at what it costs to buy this stuff in both the pods and in the cans. So let's go inside and see what this coffee actually costs. Come on. We've made our way here. Coffee and creamer. Let's go down here and see what we got. Oh, look at all this good stuff here. Let's do a comparison of what we actually have at the house. We had those red cans. You see them down here? This is actually Folgers stuff. I do believe. Yeah, this is what we had. The medium roast Folgers. $8.48 for 30.5 ounces. They say 240, but if you look, it also says 6-ounce cups. That's kind of small, but that's what we had. We'll use those numbers to calculate what we got. In comparison, here are the pods for that very same thing. These are the for the Keurig, Folgers Classic Medium Roast, 24 pods in there. Those are $13.98. That's $2.07 per ounce. Here we go. We had talked about these guys right here a little bit. Starbucks, 44 cups. There's about 19 ounces of coffee in that. That's just the coffee in the cups. It's not the cups. And those are almost 31 bucks for 44. That's pretty steep. And that's again a medium roast. That's the kind of stuff I like. Here's another one. This is Dunkin'. Excuse me. 10 cups in there. What do we got inside of that? We're 10 and a half, 10.8 ounces. And again, that's just the coffee, not the cups. I'll show you that when we get home. And that's $7.98 for that box, for those 10 cups. And we'll throw those numbers up when I get them figured out for you. What else we got? Here's I don't know what this one is. This is a medium roast. This is what I like right here, medium roast. 24 cups, $13.98. 9 ounces? Are you kidding me? That's all that's in there? It's got to be more than that. Net weight is 9 ounces. It doesn't seem like very much. But see, I'm of the opinion that this is a better way to do it right here. These Folgers ones. Now this is Maxwell House. Maxwell House has 30.6 ounces in there. That again is a medium roast. And that is $6.98. Here's the calf, medium, great value, classic roast, medium, 30.5 ounces, $6.48. That would be those guys. Dunkin', medium roast. This is 27.5 ounces in that container, and they want $16.48 for that. And I'll show you how I figure those out. We're gonna make those into cups, just like we have in this. Since we are using the Keurig, we're gonna convert all of those ounces into cups, and then we will figure out per cup what that costs. Okay, on this page, we're going to calculate the ounces per pod and the number of pods per can of coffee. Now, these are for the round cans, the ones that we looked at, like I have here, the ones that I use. You just have to do this once and then it's a done deal. So, you can find this number on the box, and I can show you where that is as soon as we're done with this. 0.375 ounces per pod, and I'll show you where we get that with these here. This is an empty pod, this is a full pod, and I'll show you where you come up with the how much coffee is actually in there. But it works out to be 0.375 ounces, and I'll show you where that comes from. Ounces of coffee per can. Now some of those cans had 30.5, some of them had 27.5, some of them had less than that even. But whatever the ounces per can is, it always works out the same way. It's going to be 0.375, or basically 0.38 ounces per pod. And to calculate this particular one out, it's 30.5 ounces per can divided by the number of ounces per pod. How many pods do you want? And it comes out to 81 pods per can. So now, 81 pods per can. Let's apply this to some other numbers. All right, let's look at what we got here. Weights and measures. Cost per self-made pods. We did the Folgers one. We looked at both the pods and the cans. I mean, I have the cans. A Folgers can of coffee is 30.5 ounces for the whole can. And that can of coffee costs $8.98. $8.98 divided by the 81 pods that you can get out of it makes each pod cost about 11 cents. That's a significant difference. Significant difference. The Dunkin' coffee we had, now that had 27.5 ounces in it, and it was $16.48. To do that, you go $16.48 divided by what ended up being 73 pods. If you go back to the previous page, how I divided that, 0.375 divided into the ounces, boom, you come up with that number of pods per that can with that weight, 27.5, and that equals out to be 22 cents a can. Maxwell House was the cheapest one you can do, and I think it's the same as the one that we looked at, the Great Value, the Walmart brand. That was the exact same price as this, $6.98. Maxwell House is a 30.6 ounce can at $6.98. That is, again, 81 pods for that can of coffee, and that equals 8 cents a cup. This is the cost for coffee for pre-made pods, okay? We did the one in the store for Folgers because I used Folgers yesterday, and I'm going to use the pods that they had at the store just to give you a number comparison. So we found a box in there that had Folgers 24 pods for $13.98, and the way that you figure that out is $13.98 divided by the 24 pods that are in there is 58 cents a pod. That's how I come up with that number. It's the same with this. $7.98 for the Dunkin' 10-pack. Divided by the 10 that's in the pack is 79 cents a pod. That's 79 cents per cup of coffee. It's the same with the Starbucks one. That's pretty expensive coffee. And if you drink coffee like that, it can cost you quite a bit. Like I said, it will eventually far exceed the cost of the coffee maker. All right, we got a scale in front of us. Let's look at this. This is a pod. I've cut it open and taken the coffee out of it. Let's see what this thing weighs, because this isn't part of the coffee. This is just the vessel that lets us make the cup. Can you see that? That is 1/8 of an ounce. 1/8 of an ounce. How much coffee goes in there? Let me show you that. I have a pre-measured thing here, and I've tried to weigh these filters, and they really don't weigh anything. That filter, this coffee that is pre-measured into this filter weighs 3/8 of an ounce. So this being 1/8 of an ounce, this being 3/8 of an ounce, together they make what? 1/2 ounce. Let's look at this. This pod, ready to go, is a 1/2 ounce. What is that? That's 4/8. 4/8 is I mean, if we're gonna do eighths, we got to do eighths. So 1/8 subtracted from 4/8, which is this one, that would be 4/8 equals this amount of coffee, which is 3/8. And that, if you divide the 3 by the 8, you come up with the number 0.375, or we can round it up and say 0.38 if you want. But that's where I come up with these other numbers here that we were using in the previous calculation. Right here. See this one? Ounces per coffee pod. 0.375, and that's how I calculate that. And if you want, you can look at the box and you can see where that says that. And I'll show you that too in a second here. Okay, let me show you the box. Now this box was one that we had on the counter yesterday when I was doing the intro. You'll see 96.38 ounce pods in this box. This is a big box. It's one of those big boxes I had there. Now that is 0.38 ounces. Where do they come up with that? Let me show you. This is the coffee. It's not the container. This, not important. And that filter, I've tried weighing that filter, it weighs nothing. But this is 3/8 of an ounce. Now if you want to take and make that into the number like we saw on that box over there, oh shoot. All right. We're going to go 3, which is the top number, the numerator, divided by 8, the denominator, and we will come up with a decimal of what? 0.375. They're rounding it up over there on that box. So that's where we come up with these numbers. We don't have to worry about these numbers in all this. I'm just showing you this so you know where I get my information from and how I calculate the cost of this coffee. And we're not going to have to deal with this again now that we know. All right, one final comparison to throw this up at you. Pod costs per pod, pre-made on this side, homemade on this side. I'm sorry I don't have a comparison for the Maxwell House. I did not find a box of Maxwell House there, or at least I didn't look hard enough, I guess, whatever. But my gosh. Anyway, Folgers was 58 cents per pod of the pre-made stuff. Ours, which are what these are, and I'll show you how we come up with these. Ours are 11 cents. You're talking a big difference here. You're talking 47 cents a pod. I mean, if you drink 4 cups of coffee in the morning, you're almost talking $2 a day for you. If you got a wife, you're talking $4 a day. It'll be quite a bit. Now the Dunkin' one, I did do the Dunkin'. Theirs was 79. When we did it, with that box that we looked at, or that can of coffee we looked at, it was 22. That's 57 cents. Wow, that's a lot. Maxwell House would be very cheap. That's a very expensive coffee. We may have to rethink even our Folgers purchases. But this, I mean, if you're looking to save money on this operation, this is a great way to do it. Now, what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how these things that I make, how they go together. I mean, you could probably imagine spooning that in there one at a time. It can be a very laborious operation. Let's take a look at that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you real quick how how to save some money at this, how we get down to 11 cents, and how we get down to 8 cents, and how we save money from buying those expensive these guys. How do we get away from these guys, remember? Well, there's a way to do that, and this is it right here. And I know what you're thinking. God, who wants to fuss with that? Here's a coffee that I mentioned yesterday, the yellow can. This is called Chock Full of Nuts. This is one of Darlene and I's favorite coffees. This stuff is actually really good. Now, to do it this way, you're going to need this. This is a little filter thing, but I don't like just putting the coffee in there because then you got to wash this thing out every time and it gets really messy. So I like to fill these filters up, but these filters, they're they're messy. These, and then you close it, and there you go. This goes in the Keurig. This right here, finished, goes in the Keurig. It's a problem. There's a better way. I fussed with this for a long time, and it was always a point of contention for me, and I didn't like doing it this way. There's a better way, and I'm going to show you the better way. This right here is just an 18 count egg carton, and you can tell by the dust that's on it and the coffee grounds that are in it. I've been using the better way for a long time. Let me show you how this works. These are filters. I buy these filters because, like I said, I don't want to get my pods here all full of yuck, because they take some time to clean. Those do. And I don't like getting them all filled up with yuck. So I buy these filters, and I will show you specifically the kind of filters that these are. They're kind of I've had white ones, bleached white paper ones. I like these brown ones better. They're a little bit thinner. They do a little bit better job, I think, If you get a filter that's a little bit too thick, the machine has a hard time pushing water through, and it struggles. So this, I think, is a better way. Now, this is an 18 egg carton thing here. And this carton, egg carton, is just a plastic one. It had a couple, 3 little posts in the middle that stuck up a little higher along here, and that was just to keep it so when it was closed, and they stacked eggs many high, it didn't crush the eggs. I cut those off so these filters would lay nice in here. And these filters, I will show you these filters. That's them right there. I get those off of the internet. You can probably look that up on Google, and that's where we find them, and my wife buys those. Those are the filters. Now, how do I fill these? With that same spoon and coffee method? No. I used the same coffee, but there had to be a better way. And the better way is sitting right here. This thing is the better way. If you can see it, it is a coffee dispensing tool. It has a trigger in here. We found this on the internet, and I will give you the exact internet location for this. I bought this thing probably 5 years ago now. I've been using this thing. It's been very faithful. It works really well. And what it does, it dispenses a small amount of coffee. 2 punches in each of these things is the exact 0.375 amount that we talked about yesterday in the video. And let me show you how that works. I mean, I can hold it kind of generally over there. It comes out the back handle here, and it would go in there, but it would make a mess. And I found that out very quickly. So I went to probably AutoZone and bought a bunch of basically filters, or not filters, but funnels. And I had to cut the bottom off because I needed a certain size hole in the bottom so the coffee didn't clog. I cut the top off, and I did a little bit of carving and put some Velcro on there. And this fits very nicely on the bottom of this so that it will funnel that coffee right down into these filters. I set this thing up one time about 5 years ago, and now I use it to do this, and I can knock this out very quickly. I just do one because it's only 2 of us, but if you drink more than we do, you can put 2 of these egg cartons together and stick one in the cupboard, but they go very quickly. Let me show you the operation. A little packing. And then we like ours a little bit stronger, so I'll go 2 of them. Done. You could do that with a couple of these things, and it would be, and that just goes on the counter. And then when we're ready, we have our filters, our filter cases, and we will take one of these, pick it up out of here, put it in the case, into the coffee machine, and it's ready to brew. 11, 12, 13 cents as opposed to 58, 59, 60, 79 cents for some Starbucks stuff. This is the better way. Get yourself set up like this. It doesn't take too long. It'll pay for itself very quickly. I think I did this and probably paid for itself in less than 2 weeks. This is a good deal right here. Outstanding. Let's do some closing talk. We talked about doing some wrap up here, and I'm going to show you the things that I use to do this. This right here, this little Hummer right here. This, I don't know if you can see that. That is a Zevro coffee dispenser, actually. I will show you where I get that. It's right here. Zebro, 8-ounce plastic independent ground coffee dispenser in black, $15. Where is that? Is that Amazon? I don't know. But I'll tell you what, all you got to do is go in and type in your search engine on Google, a Zebro coffee dispenser, and boom, it comes up. And it'll be the exact same thing with these things. Brew Addict filters, all natural, unbleached paper filters. That is what these are. These are, and this is what they look like out of the box. There are 300 of those in each box. Pretty cool. Those are the Brew Addict filters. Now these things right here, you can buy these off the internet too, but there's something that I want to show you about these things, and we'll go over here. I'm going to set this down because I want you to see this. When I started this operation, where did that go? Right here. I want you to look at this one here. You'll see that there are a couple of holes in the screen in the bottom, and there are these two depressions here. And if you don't line this up properly when you put it into the coffee maker, you'll get holes in the bottom, and I'll show you why real quick. But so we don't really use this one anymore because it's a bit of a pain. Let's look at this one in comparison. You see the whole bottom is indented. I have a couple of them like this. They're I don't like those. I have two more of them over here. See these ones, these purple ones, the whole bottom is recessed, whereas the red ones, they have a little bit of a crown in the middle. And they fit, well, not there, they don't fit. Oh, here it is. This is the other purple one I have. You can put that in there any way you want, and it doesn't matter. I don't know if you can see that down in there, but there is a pin down in the bottom. It's a needle, and it's right, you can't really even see it. But it's a needle down there, and it will poke a hole in the bottom of your little filter. And that's why, let me look at this one here. It pokes a hole in the bottom of every filter on the bottom so the water can get out, and it pokes a hole in the top so the water can come in. Let me put this in here again in a different position, and we'll close it. You heard the pop. There's a second hole right there now. Right there. You see it? Now there's two holes in that filter. It'll use the same hole in the top because, well, there's a big old needle right here on the top also. So that's how that thing works. Anyway, so you'll need a few of these. We have 4 of them. That's plenty. Need an egg carton. You'll need a Zebro coffee dispenser and some filters. And you'll need to work a little bit of this because it took me just a little bit of time to figure out how to keep that from clogging because the tiny hole at the bottom, that didn't work so well. But it didn't take much once I got it all figured out. Like I said, I've been using that for about 5 years, and it works really well. Works really well. Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming along for the ride. I hope you enjoyed coffee, Mike's way of doing coffee. You can save a fortune doing this. John, this is what you wanted, I hope. I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace. We just finished dinner. We're going to have us a decaf. I love that thing. So nostalgic.